We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
To the end zone! Oregon! Mariota dives! Touchdown! They hand it off straight out! C.J. Burdell wins the game for Oregon!
Inside the 10! A hat-trick, a touchdown from Justin Herbert! Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out, and that'll do it! Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon! They storm the field at Autzen!
All right, Duck fans, here we go. Welcome into another episode of the Ducks Rising podcast, sponsored by Backer. My name's Zachary, Neel, my co-host, Travis Rooke-Ley. Travis, what's up, man? How we doing?
It's finally here. Excited to talk about real football. Preseason's over. Ready to get into it.
Absolutely. Preseason's over. It's Penn State week. I'm so excited. I know you are too. We're going to go break things down for you today. Look at the matchups, give you some predictions, try to get prepared for Saturday, honestly. Just a reminder, if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube and give us a rating and review on your podcasting app of choice. And of course, check out ducksrising.com for a ton of exclusive bonus content. We got a really great thing going here at Ducks Rising, give you a lot of incredible content to fans.
Yeah, awesome sweepstakes we just wrapped up this week. I got another couple things heading into the game Saturday, doing a free 1-week trial that we're rolling out for fans that's finally been built, so fans can hop in there and check it out. Obviously a great week to do that, and all the content we've been pushing out. Free gamer chat we're opening up this Saturday, so if fans are looking for a new place to avoid the doom and gloom that message boards can be on a Saturday, I'd say check out our gamer chat. It's one of the most unique parts of our community, and kind of like that more group chat type flow I think is perfect for a game day and like a live event like that. So just stay tuned to my Twitter, your Twitter throughout the week. We're super excited about some of the stuff we're offering coming up.
Yeah, I've been kind of bummed that I can't get too involved with the game chats because I'm just like doing too many things during games. But I've looked in a couple times. I'm just like, wow, it looks like they're having a lot of fun. I'll say that much.
It's definitely been a little breath of fresh air. I mean, I'm at most of these games, so I just try to lock in and not, but I always go back through there after I'm 600 messages deep scrolling through it the next day. So it's cool just to see. I mean, we're really proud of just some of the ball talk, as we call it, that we have in there, and people, knowledgeable about the fan base, know what's going on, break stuff down as the game's going, and ultimately just a little more positive of a vibe than I've seen before. So it's been cool to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, before we jump into things, just some weekly housekeeping. The Ducks Rising film room dropped earlier this week. Jeff's breakdown of Week 4 against Oregon State. Another fantastic episode. Jeff highlighted some of Oregon's play designs. He looked really early on kind of how they set the table with plays in the past weeks to, what they did similar in more recent games and new concepts from the same formation. I'm really interested to see kind of how that plays out going forward, particularly in this game. What formations have we seen before, and what new things do they run out of them?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go into this game and have a good idea of what Oregon's trying to do and some of the formation stuff that Stein built, I mean, going back through not only this week of Jeff's, but some of the previous episodes you have, I mean, I think it gives you an idea of how you can watch the game with a little more of that football sense to it. So it's been really cool to see that, and I think that that's one of the big questions going into this week that I know we'll get into is how much have we shown? How much of what we've shown been to set up what we're going to show Saturday? I think there's a lot of just interesting conversations around that.
Yeah, we also just recorded our Ducks Rising Alumni Corner with the one and only Mike Jorgensen, a very dear friend of mine and a legendary Duck who's worked for a long time alongside Jerry Allen. That was I think that was a fun interview.
Jorgie is the best. I mean, I think it's just you obviously have a special relationship with him, but for me personally, I mean, not every Oregon game was on TV. I mean, when we were younger, I remember listening to the 2005 Arizona game, Jerry and Jorgie on the radio. I remember the Brett Haberly fumble return call. So it's cool when you get that flashback into some of those childhood memories that formed our fandom.
Yeah, Jorgie is someone, he actually officiated my wedding with me and my wife. I grew up as family friends with him. We used to do when we were watching games, we'd mute the broadcast, but we'd have the radio on and be able to listen to him and Jerry while watching it. So it was one of those times. I always loved talking to Jorgie and Jerry. as for today's show, like I said, we are going to give you the full preview on Penn State, what to expect on Saturday. We're going to dive into matchups. We're going to look at scheme fits, game flow, areas of concern, areas of confidence. It feels like we've kind of been building up to this moment for, the past several weeks, and now we finally get to really sink our teeth into a great game. We're also going to look forward at the betting lines, give you score predictions, and then briefly look around at the rest of the college slate before taking a couple of Autzen Airwaves questions to get things out of here. Before we do that, actually, you had a great interview with Brian from Penn State. That will be running as a separate episode later this week, but tell me a bit about that one.
Yeah, Brian Tripp, he's the community manager over at Roar Plus, and he also is a broadcaster for Penn State. So he's super dialed into the athletic department over there. Not sure if that episode's going to get released before this or after this, but it'll be sometime here soon. Brian just gives inside perspective to that athletic department and that program as someone that's embedded in it and around it every day. And I think for Oregon fans who maybe like to, study up a little more on their opponent, know what they're trying to do, know what the scheme of their defense is like, scheme of their offense, strengths, weaknesses. We just kind of talk through back and forth each of our perspective going into the game and what we're looking for, stories about the whiteout, stuff like that. So super fun to hear from him. And once again, just another way to get fired up and get another interesting perspective on the game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to dive into Penn State soon. But before that, will you tell me a bit about our sponsor, Backer?
Yeah, Backer's been, just an amazing company. We're seeing a ton of the growth right now. We've seen some ads different on TV and different things involving different Oregon people. So it's been cool to see their kind of ascent throughout this year. But they're our main podcast sponsor. They're a new outerwear company founded by an Oregon alum, combining high-performance materials from the outdoor industry with a sleek Oregon look. As someone who grew up in Eugene, I know the value of high-end apparel on football Saturdays, summer hikes, and winter trips to the mountains. This gear truly checks every box. I encourage all Duck fans to check out their jackets, hoodies, hats, and more at Backer. That's BCKR.com. Use the code RISINGFREE for 10% off all orders, and 10% of your spending will go back to Ducks Rising. So I know as the weather's turning a little bit, I just did my packing out for Happy Valley today, threw my Backer jacket and hat in there. So fired up to actually be able to put some of it to use now that the weather's turning a little bit.
Wow, you're an early packer. That's impressive. I'm one of those late, I'll pack a couple hours before I leave to the airport.
We got an early Thursday flight. I got a busy day tomorrow, so I figured
okay.
I was listening to all my other Oregon preview pods, listening to Solid Verbal today, cranked out a little packing. Can't go wrong.
That's a guy. I respect it. I got my brother, my brother, I got him a Backer hat for his birthday. Gave it to him a couple days ago. I think he was pretty stoked on it. He seemed very happy with it, so he'll be rocking that soon too.
I love it.
In a normal episode, we would spend some time up here at the top breaking down the previous game and kind of giving our takeaways. I almost want to call an audible today just because, all due respect to Oregon State, it was kind of a boring game, a blowout, not as much fun to talk about as Penn State going forward. So unless you have any major things to say, major takeaways from that game, I think we can get into that. But other than that, I think let's kind of brush over this a little bit and move on.
Yeah, I don't know. Depending on who you listen to and catch yourself up in the Twitter sphere a little bit, there's a lot of people who are making a lot of the slow start, people who are making a lot of the one drive Oregon State had. That drive, they got the ball to 50 and caught us in a screen pass on third down, which happens, and then one busted coverage. So I think people who are using that game as evidence that we can't do X, Y, Z on defense are just off base. And then offensively, there's a couple of clunky things early. Dante got three balls batted down in the first quarter, which I think there's some offensive line stuff we can talk about, but that's also somewhat fluky, I think, when you think about long term. So I don't know. It's one of those games, you expect to just come out and kind of sit on the opponent. You get to 21-7 at half, and the game, for all intents and purposes, is over, I think. It's just hard to know much.
Yeah, and we just talked to Jorgie, and he said he made a good point. He's like, yeah, a lot of fans kind of, when they think about a blowout, they want this dominant game where you score on the first drive of the game and you're dominant at the start and you just dominate every second of the game. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. And I think in this new, I guess not new age of Twitter and sports, you look at things in a such a vacuum throughout a game, but once you get a chance to step away from it, and it's like, oh, they won 41-7. That was a complete blowout. Maybe there was a couple of drives that weren't perfect, but all in all, that was a really well executed game, I think, from Oregon's standpoint.
Yeah, and it's just important to remind people, like, it's still 18 to 22-year-old kids. Like, it's not an indictment on Dan Lanning that we were tied 7-7 after one quarter because he didn't get the guys up and excited to play. Like, they're still kids. Fluky little things can happen in the first quarter. Bounce goes this way, ball doesn't get caught this way. Like, stuff like that happens. It's not a complete pushover of an opponent. They obviously, imposed their will as the game went on. The key was going into that game, health, number one, and just like developing a rhythm. I think obviously guys got into a little rhythm as the game went on. Defense continues to, what have we allowed? One touchdown drive the whole, was that the first one that our starting defense has allowed? Yeah, so
first one not in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think
sure
our ones and twos have allowed one touchdown drive, and that was it. And it started at the 50, and there were two. It's not like it wasn't our fault, but like two plays that I wouldn't just consider to be like long-term issue plays or things that we have to worry about. So I'm just excited to talk about Penn State and excited to like have some real analysis.
Yeah, let's get on to Penn State. That was enough Oregon State talk. As I've done before with the past games, I just love to look at the ESPN SP Plus numbers. Just going into this, it's really interesting comparing Penn State and Oregon's opponents because there's kind of been a sense that I've seen even a couple people online. I think Penn State guys are like, "Oh, Oregon's played no one." It's like, you want to talk about playing no one? According to SV Plus, Oregon's 4 opponents: Montana State is number 110, Oklahoma State 89, Northwestern 91, and Oregon State 123. That's an average opponent rank of 103.25. Penn State's average opponent rank is 152.66. Their best team that they've played, which is FIU 134, is worse than the worst team that Oregon has played. So I always like getting like that kind of sense going in before I look at, where does their rushing defense rank? Where does their passing defense rank? Or stuff like that. It kind of shows you who they've faced and how they've looked against those teams. I think Oregon has faced, not good competition, but a little bit better. And I think that they've looked better too. That's just kind of the stance that I'm taking early on, the basis for my overall analysis before we jump in.
Yeah. And I mean, any fan who is acting like they know what either of these teams truly is, I just think is off base. I mean, I published a piece earlier this week that was like what I know and what I don't know. And I was trying to consolidate down in my head, like, what things do I feel confident about and what things do I not feel confident about? And I think Penn State's in the same situation. That was a conversation I had with Brian. I mean, looking at both opponents' lists, like you mentioned, there's just, I just don't think you can glean an accurate picture of ultimately what either team is going to look like come Saturday. There's questions around what's being shown, what hasn't. And I think if anything, last year should teach Duck fans that it's understandable why a veteran team might sleepwalk a little bit through some early season games. I mean, we were in a lot of ways that team last year in terms of experienced veterans, guys who had played a lot of football, and you saw our game against Idaho. We didn't play to our level against Boise State. It took us a little bit against Oregon State. So I think Duck fans are on both ends, and some are reading too much into the fact that Penn State has looked a little clunky at times. It's like, hey, we were in that situation last year. Like, we're going to know a lot come Saturday.
Let's look at this game in terms of matchups. I mean, there's a lot of ways we could go here, but what does Penn State do best in your mind, and how is Oregon set up to stop that?
I mean, they want to be a running team. They want to be a physical team, and they want to run the ball and be ahead of the chains. That's their like bread and butter. That's what their offense is predicated upon. I think you saw in the Big Ten championship game last year, that was what ideally they want their offense to look like multiple tempo. Kotelnicki is a creative offensive coordinator. So I think when they're ahead of the chains and when they have momentum and develop a little bit of a rhythm, especially with Aller, you can see they can be a really hard offense to stop. On the same hand, like if you can get them in third down, especially third and long, like that's where I think Aller is beatable. So to me, just like Jorgie said, just like my conversation with Brian from Penn State, like early down rushing success both ways is going to be a huge factor.
Yeah, I think that the number one key for Oregon's defense, like you said, is trying to make Drew Aller beat you. And that's what, I mean, Dan talked earlier this week. He said something interesting that kind of stuck with me. He was talking about the 297 rush yards allowed in the Big Ten championship game. He said part of that he thinks was because, of what Oregon's defense wanted to be able to give up, like what they're okay giving up. And then to me, it's like, I don't think you'd ever be okay giving up the rushing, like giving them the running game. You'd kind of want them to throw the ball more. But he made it seem that they were kind of keyed in more on the passing game. I think they were keyed into Warren a lot. But that was just something that kind of stuck out to me.
And I think that with that, that's a situation where if you can get an early lead like we did last year and develop a rhythm offensively, I think you're fine with them having a little efficiency run game. Like if you get up 14-3, 21-10 in that situation, and they want to slowly plod down the field 4 or 5 yards, like you're okay with that. I mean, that's kind of a staple of the Oregon, mint front defense that Kirby and Saban run. If there's one thing that defense can give up, it's like occasionally your kind of efficiency run game. But I think that only has success if you can get up to a lead. If we start slow offensively, Washington 2023, Ohio State last year, and they're just churning the ball, eating the ball, limiting possessions, that's a much different game. So I think what Dan was referring to was like, we trust our defense in the red zone. We trust that we can hold Aller down and make him, once you get down there, it's harder to run the ball and you got to fit balls into tight windows. So I think that strategy is the right one, but it's all based on this idea that your offense is going to have success.
Well, it's, that, like you said, that bend don't break strategy. You can let them run all they want until they get down to the 20, and then that's when you kind of stiffen up and make sure that they don't go anywhere. Let's look at it the other way. What does Oregon do best, and can Penn State stop it? Are they built to stop it?
Yeah, I think offensively, some of the same things, but just being multiple and versatile and being able to attack them in a lot of different ways. I think Stein has put, contrary to what a lot of people have said, Stein has put so much on tape.
I have not understood this, that storyline that, Oregon's so vanilla, like you're saying. They put so much on tape.
Yeah. And I think that's obviously intentional. And I think there's some looks probably off that stuff that we're saving for this week when it comes to our best stuff, maybe some downfield stuff and different things. But I think once again, you saw in the Big Ten title game that we have an advantage with our playmakers in space against their defense. And although we lost a good chunk of those guys, I think that's still the case this year. I like the matchups with DeCorian Moore, Malik Benson. I like the matchups in space if we can get Noah, Dier Hill specifically, out on the edges. So I think once again, and then you look at Sadiq and Jamari Johnson, you can catch them in personnel mismatches, advantages within a drive, stuff like that. So I think that, it just sounds so simple, and I feel bad narrowing it down to such an easy explanation that I feel like a lot of other people are saying, but it's whichever team is in 3rd and 3 is the team that I think has, huge odds of winning. If we're the team in 3rd and 3 versus 3rd and 8, what you can do offensively changes so much in that situation versus if we're 3rd 8, 3rd and 9, those edge rushers, that crowd, that environment, I think that's a situation where we're not feeling great.
Yeah, I completely agree. But that's one thing that gives me a lot of confidence in this game is what you said first, that Oregon, their offense is so multiple. You look at Penn State's offense and it's they want to run the ball. That's how they're going to find success. They don't want to put the ball in Drew Aller's hand and say, hey, go win us this game. Because I'm not the biggest Drew Aller believer. I think that he can lead you to some wins. I don't think he can be the reason that you won a lot of these big games. When you look at Oregon's offense, I think they're pretty satisfied if they need to run the ball to win the game. I think they're happy if Dante Moore has to go win the game. I think they feel pretty confident whether they can go do either of those things. I'm not sure which one, they feel better about going into this game. That'll be really interesting to see. I know they've got Noah Whittington back for this game, so that's encouraging. But I also just, one of the biggest questions, we talk about the run defense. That's obviously key. How is Dante Moore gonna, show out in this environment? He's never played with 106,000 people screaming at him while he's trying to operate an offense when the game is on the line. That you can't prepare for that. You can try to prepare for it, but we don't know what that's actually gonna look like until it happens.
I think that's a great point. I think the ways we have to beat them offensively are just more than they have. I think that if they can't run the ball with success, I have a hard time believing they're going to win. I mean, if Aller, I think that the best game Aller's ever played was probably against us last year. Mm-hmm. And I think even if he were to play at that level, I think we're still in a good spot. So to me, it just comes down to the paths I see for their offense to score are more narrow than ours. I think, like you said, I think we can run the ball. I think we can have success, especially on the interior. I think that their defensive line, their pass rushers are good. I don't know that they're great defending the run, and I don't know that their interior is great defending the run. So I think if we can lean on them a little bit, I think we're in a good spot. And then, like you said, I mean, if they want to put 6, 7, 8 bodies in the box, like I like our wide receiver matchups against theirs a lot more than theirs against ours. I mean, they've got, for all intents and purposes, they have 3 slow-ish slot receivers. I mean, Ross has a little bit of wiggle, but I mean, we've seen nothing from our DBs right now to feel like they're going to lose matchups to those guys. And if they do, okay. But like the last thing I want to see is them just leaning on us in the run game. Like if Aller wants to throw for 350 and they win one-on-one matchups, I'll sleep all right that night.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go to game flow first? You want to get into predictions and major questions?
Yeah, I think game flow is a good one to chat about this game specifically. I think I mentioned it earlier, but to me, the start fast is never been more important than this game. Mm-hmm. I think about Ohio State last year. I think about Washington in 23 in the Pac-12 title game. I think when you go on the road in an environment like this, the importance of just moving the ball with success early and what that does for yourselves, albeit the crowd as well, and taking them out of the game is massive. So it's one of those games, like I am always a team defer to my death, but if you could tell me we could take the ball and march down the field and score like we did at Michigan last year, I think that's how you set a tone in a game like this. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Dan do that if he's confident in what we have. But bar none for me is start first. What are you thinking?
I like that. I mean, I love seeing whether they defer or receive because it just tells you right away, like, all right, what's their mentality? I think back to the Utah game, I think 2 years ago. There was that whole storyline that Utah's defense was so good, and they'd always, I think they deferred like almost every game up to that point. And they said, all right, give us the ball, drove down, scored right away, and shut up that crowd. That's something I agree. I would love to see that in this game. I think, you mentioned a little bit earlier, but just getting into those second and medium, third and shorts, just getting a drive going, like the worst thing you can do is have a 3-and-out first possession. That wakes the crowd up. That maybe rattles Dante a little bit, rattles some of the guys, and just makes them second guess their training and what they're preparing for. If you can just get a little bit of rhythm going offensively, I think that'll completely open up the whole thing and remind them that they're playing football. Yeah, it's a new stadium. Yeah, it's a little bit louder. The guys are a little bit bigger than they're used to, but it's still football at the end of the day. So that's the number one thing. Just early success on offense, I think, is so key. Because even if Penn State scores, if it's a 7-7 ball game, 10-10 ball game after the first quarter, I'm fine with that. But if it's 10-0, 14-7, 14-3, I'm a little bit more concerned. So, just get the points on early. This is a game I think Oregon's going to have to score to win. Obviously every game, but they're not going to win this game 17-14 in my mind.
Yeah, I think the in college that like first down is so massive on drives, and especially at the very start of the game. I mean, you can just get the ball over the 50 and you get into 4 downs. You get what it opens up for you offensively is so big. So yeah, I am right with you. I mean, if they can come out, run the ball a little bit, move the chains a couple times, and what that does for your quarterback. I mean, the last thing you want is a situation Bo was in 23, and probably Dylan felt it last year of like, before you know it, it's 3rd and 9, crowd's on top of you. Maybe you go incomplete there or something happens, and then you're off the field. And then the wheels start turning a little bit. So, man, that first drive to me is just so important in terms of the tone it sets. And the number one way you do that, and we've seen teams have success with it in the past at Oregon, is like run the ball to start off the game. So I'm right with you there. I mean, if you give me a 15-yard run to start the game, and I'm a happy man. That'd
be great. I'm also just really curious to see the type of pressure they get on Dante. There's been a lot of talk recently, and I think warranted, just about Oregon's offensive line, particularly the tackles. I'm sure we'll talk to Jeff soon, but I want to talk to him more about what he's seen from Worrell and Harkey, because I don't know that they've quite lived up to the very high expectations they had coming into this season. But there's also have not played many great players, and maybe that's, that could say enough in itself that, they haven't looked great against this low-level talent. But this is a game where they could, think about what Josh Connerly did for his career last year in the Big Ten title game by shutting down Abdul Carter. If Isaiah World or Harkey go out there and shut out DDS, it changes the narrative. So I want to see early on just kind of how comfortable is Dante Moore allowed to be in the pocket, and how much is he, rushing throws because he has to get them off real quick? Because that changes what Will Stein can do, what he can call. Is he calling quick slants all game, or can he call some 10, 15-yard intermediate routes and kind of get the offense rolling that way?
Yeah, we talked about, and Jeff broke down, some of the awesome work Dante did against Northwestern on 3rd and long in the pocket, but that's just not something you can expect to do in an environment like this with a much better defense, 2 new tackles, who have not played in an environment like this. World coming from Nevada and Harkey coming from Texas State. They haven't heard noise like this before. So I think that obviously, once again, coming back to this, the way you limit that is it's so much easier as a pass rusher when it's 3rd and 8 than when it's 3rd and 3. If it's 3rd and 3 and you want to, speed rush up and lose your running lane, we'll just run the ball. Thank you very much. It's just such a different dynamic in terms of what your rush plan has to be, what you're accountable for, all those things when there's run pass option. But when you're caught in, I'd say probably 3rd and 5 or above, and you're just expecting drop back, that's when that's when those advantageous matchups Penn State has can show themselves. So I think we're in lockstep. Early rush down success determines if we're scoring in the 20s or in the 30s.
Well, and also what I've loved to see over the past few weeks that I think could be huge in this game is Dante's ability to get out of the pocket and run a little bit. As a Broncos fan, I know how demoralizing it is to see a non-mobile quarterback like Patrick Mahomes just rush for 5-10 yards, pick up a first down late in the game, on a 3rd down. That's probably one of the most infuriating things to see. But I think he has that ability, and so if he's, if their secondary is locking up and he's got nowhere to go, he can get out and wiggle a little bit. I hope that he gets down more than we've seen before, because I think you said it last week, he seems to just get hit kind of once a game now, which is a little bit concerning, but that's something that I think could play a huge role in this game, his ability to get out and move a little bit.
And this is the kind of game that I think fits what Stein wants to do well in terms of we just got to, possess the ball, keep moving the chains, And I think that you see some quarterbacks who escape to pass and may, try to fit a ball in a tight window on 3rd and 5 for a 25-yard gain when they could have just ran for 6 and got out of bounds and moved the chain. So I don't think this game is a blowout one way or another. It's going to come down to small opportunities like that, little plays, winning big moments. So his legs have been a big asset. And I think they haven't been, utilized a whole ton in terms of designs besides a few design runs I can think of. So that's going to be one where if they're sitting on him a little bit, especially later in the game if we're running the ball with success, I can see some design stuff that they run with him. He's taking some hits, but he's a big dude. And especially when you get down in the red zone, when it's harder to get yards and stuff like that, I wouldn't be shocked to see some design stuff down there.
Well, and so far he's been pretty much perfect with that decision making of tucking and running and not trying to force that ball. Yep. What does that look like with 106,000 fans yelling at him? I don't know. We'll see. But so far, so good. I think he's passed that test up to this point. Let's get into some game predictions. Who are, a few players that you're just looking at that they can be, name brand players or a little bit under the radar players, but people who you think will need to stand up the most for Oregon to find success here?
Yeah, I'll just kind of stick to my game keys. I think whoever is rotating in at defensive tackle alongside Amari Washington needs to hold up. I think Mateo and Tatum, Ashton Porter, Blake Purchase, holding the edge in the run game. I know that's a big piece of Penn State's rushing attack is outside zone runs, Singleton, containing him, he's got game breaking speed. He can pop some if not. So I think if those front four can do their job and control the run game, I really like the way that Jerry Mixon and Bryce Betcher are playing, but those guys, it can't be on them to be taking on blocks. Like, we need our front four to eat up blocks and like play at a high level. And so I feel like I know what I'm going to get from Amari Washington at this point, but it's those other three, like specific against the run, that we need to step up.
Yeah, I like that. Mine builds off that. I'm highlighting Betcher and Mixon, and a little bit of Devin Jackson too, but I think Betcher and Mixon will be the guys, because if you can trust those front four, those front three to eat up the blocks, you still got to have the guy bring them down, and you still got to have them fit their gaps and do what they need to do. So I think Bryce and Jerry have been really good thus far at, getting tackles and actually being solid in the run game. But again, this is going to be the biggest test they have faced all year and maybe will face all year. So seeing them actually, you can plan all day, but actually execute is what they need to do. So anyone on offense or anyone else that you're really looking at?
I mean, I think the easy answer when it comes to the offensive line is the tackles, for the reason we discussed. But in order to protect those guys, I think where our biggest advantage is offensively is like interior run game. I think that those three guys we have on the interior can win and win a lot inside, running the ball early. So I think, we've talked a lot about how I think our running backs better fit a little more interior than outside stuff when it comes to Lamar, Harris, Hughes, probably even Noah, to be honest. So once again, I think if we can just have success early on, those guys opening up holes, those guys protecting, the interior of the pocket, I think Moore's shown a little wiggle to avoid like outside pressure a little bit. So if that interior can hold up, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. Offensively, I'm honestly looking out wide. I'm looking at the wide receivers. I don't know who it's going to be. DeCorian or Benson are the two guys that are at the top of my list. But I just remember back to that Ohio State game last year, the first one. It felt like everyone kind of knew what to expect from Tez. Like, they knew he's the wide receiver one. And then Evan just popped. And it was like, okay, here is the deep threat. This guy is just having himself a game. I could really see one of them. I think Malik would probably be my top candidate. Just be like that guy who can go out there, win one-on-one matchups, and just kind of take apart their secondary. I just, when I close my eyes and picture what this game is going to look like, I can just see him having a huge day. He's been solid so far. I think he's their leading receiver. I haven't checked the stats after the Oregon State game, but, he's been very good. I think he's earning a lot of respect, but he's not known nationally yet. And I think that was kind of similar with Evan last year. He'd flown under the radar after transferring a little bit, done some good things, and then he did that to Davison and Igbinosa, I think that's his last name. And it's like, all right, this guy's for real. This guy can play at this level. I think we could have a game like that for probably Benson, but I could see DeCorian having a day like that too, where he just announces himself on this team.
Like we said earlier, I like that matchup for us. I mean, both those guys, and I think I'm guessing Knowles is going to try to take away the run. I think he understands the importance of that. I think he wants to get in those advantageous third down situations. So I think that especially early, if we can get in a little rhythm running the game, there's some shots to be taken on rundowns, first and second down, where, Benson and Moore are fast, fast. So I like the Benson picks, and we've seen, more and more shots every week. He's been a target of Moore, and even just some of that back shoulder stuff that we saw last week with both of them, I think has been really successful.
And then we saw last year how impactful Kenyon Sadiq can be in this game. I mean, I think he was kind of that guy last year that was flying under the radar, because obviously no one knew him with Terrence Ferguson, but people know him now. He's obviously a household name. James Franklin spent quite a bit of time talking about him in his press conference on Monday, so it's not like they're going to surprise people with him, but that doesn't mean they can stop him, even if they know about him. So I always have my eye on him. It feels like Stein has kind of kept him in the garage a little bit so far. Like, he's getting some plays here and there, but he hasn't had this breakout season thus far. I can see him having a big day.
Him and Johnson, I think. I think both of those guys, you've seen little sprinkles of both of them, but I think the true weapon that Stein wants to use them, like the way in which Stein wants to use them, I think he's been keeping that under wraps a little bit, like you said. So I think this is the week you could see us really lean into some 12, and depending on how they match that, I could see some passing opportunities, especially you get down closer to the red zone where the size and speed of both of them are utilized.
What's the biggest question you have that you want answered in this game?
Can we stop the run and protect their tempo, creativity, stuff like that? I think that was the biggest thing coming out of last year's game that we struggled with. Thankfully, our offense kind of bailed us out when it comes to that. But I think, Kotelnicki's going to have some stuff queued up this week. I'm sure there's some stuff that they really like that they've been holding on to. They've got two really good running backs. Aller's obviously played a lot of football. The offensive line is all back. So I think they know where their, bread gets buttered. And I think that's a huge key for them going to this game. So we've seen, ebbs and flows as the years goes on. I know coming into this year, there was a lot of worries about the Oregon rush defense. I don't think it's really presented itself so far, but this is your opportunity. If you're on team, we can defend the run to present your case.
I'm going to go to the offensive side of the ball. I want to know more about Dante. I think that we are going to learn so much about him just because, we know he's got all the talent. We know he can make every throw in the book. Can he stand up on this level, on this atmosphere, on this stage with the nation watching him against the number 3 team in the nation? That's a different level. I mean, look at the guy across from him. Look at Drew Aller. I think he's also someone, former 5-star, can make a lot of the throws. He's a really good, talented player. I don't know that he has that killer instinct. I mean, I look at what he did in the college football playoff last year. I think it was against the Notre Dame. He had 100-something yards passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Didn't go out there and take the game. Can Dante do that? Does he have that killer instinct? I think we all believe he is talented enough to do this, but we're finally going to get to see if he can be that big game player. I mean, Bo is a big game player. I think Dylan at times was a big game player. Does Dante have that in him? I'm really fascinated to see what he does in this environment.
There's just so much. Just so much I'm excited for, and so much intrigue, questions like that. I mean, we think we know things. We may end up knowing things. We're going to be wrong about some things that we thought. Which we've talked so much about what receivers are going to play. What I have no idea what the running back rotation is going to look like. And we're about to play our biggest game of the year. Are we going to rotate at DB? How much are we going to rotate on the defensive line? I think that there's such a lack of information out there for a roster that's pretty new. I think Penn State, you could probably predict 18, 19 of the guys that are going to be contributors for them 80% of this game. For us, there's half our position groups you could flip a coin, depending on who's going to be out there in the biggest moments. So I know we've been talking about all along, who's going to be out there in the fourth quarter against Penn State. That's going to be the exciting part to follow as this game goes, is we'll be able to tell truly who the coaches trust and who are going to be those guys in the biggest moments.
Well, and I think they're still going to rotate a ton too. I asked Dan about that yesterday, Monday, whatever day that was. They've rotated a ton. How much is that going to continue? Is that a product of them being able to, because they're winning by so much, they want to see what they have, or is it a product of them actually having this many guys that need to see the field? And he said the latter. He said that our biggest strength is our strength in numbers. This is not something that's going to go away just because the competition is ramping up. We're going to rotate guys because we have this many guys that should be seeing the field. So that's easy to say. We'll see if that's the case when it actually becomes crunch time. But another thing that we're looking at this week.
Yeah, we'll see how much he really meant that. I don't know. I don't know. To me, Brandon Finney and Iffy, for example, are playing really, really, really high level football. Are we just going to take them out every other possession? I don't know. Are we going to rotate? Are there going to be possessions in this game where Ja'Cory Moore's not one of our wide receivers? That's been the case so far. So I don't know. I think he means some of that and hopefully doesn't mean other parts.
Yeah, how many snaps does Cooper Perry get? I think we both like Cooper Perry a lot, but is he playing a big role in this offense on Saturday? I don't know. I do the snap count takeaways article every week, and I can't wait to do it this week because just seeing what those numbers are on Sunday, it's going to be fascinating because, like you said, we're really going to learn what this coaching staff thinks of all of these guys.
Well, I hope Cooper Perry's getting a ton of time in the fourth quarter as that stadium's emptying out and things are looking good.
That'd be wonderful. Let's get into betting lines a little bit. Oregon is plus 3.5. They're 3.5-point underdogs. The over/under is 52.5. We'll kind of transition this into final score predictions and what your overall predictions are. But do you have an early lean here? What are you feeling?
So I picked Penn State 27-24 in the offseason.
Okay.
I didn't feel
I think I did
that
the same
confident.
thing.
I didn't feel that confident we would lose, but I also didn't feel like I could pick us to go undefeated, and this was the natural loss. But since then, I feel like we've looked better than I expected, and they've looked worse. We talked about some reasons why, and I totally still believe that stuff. But I think the things we can take away benefit us. I think we have more ways to win, like we talked about. I think that Dan understands the importance of starting fast, and I guarantee they are nailing that in all week, and I think that we will. And for that reason, I think Ducks win 31-23.
31-23. Wow. Okay. I thought I was
I
going
think
to
we
outroll
hold.
them.
I think we hold them to a couple field goals down there. I think. I don't know. I trust us in the red zone against Aller. I don't think he can beat us down there.
I love it, man. We've been in lockstep this whole podcast. I think we're still in lockstep here. Going into this year, I predicted a Penn State win because I just didn't know what our team would look like. It was so young, but they've answered the call every step of the way so far. And you can only beat who you play, and so far they've done that pretty convincingly. I just look at this game and I think on a neutral field, take out the whiteout, take out all of the other stuff, and that plays a big factor, obviously, but Oregon is the better team in my mind. Like you said, they've got more ways to win. They've got more dudes. I mean, I was listening to Solid Verbal earlier today. Dan put it perfectly. You need dudes on offense to win this game. I mean, how many points, what's the fewest number of points Penn State can score to win this game? It's at least, I think, 27, 28, probably in the 30s, because Oregon's just going to score. I feel really confident in Oregon. Part of me thinks that they're going to win comfortably. Comfortably I would consider, like you said, that 8-point margin. I ended up putting it at 35-31. I think they're going to get this win. I think they're going to look good. I don't have a reason not to trust this team yet. I kind of look at myself and say, do I want to be positive about this or do I want to be negative? And it's like, I don't have a reason to be negative so far. Yeah, there's things that can clean up. Every team in the nation has things they can clean up. Penn State has a lot of them too, and they haven't played anyone either. So, I have belief, and that really scares me because the last time I had belief going into a big game was the Rose Bowl, and we all know how that turned out. So, but I don't know. I'm choosing to believe again. I think they can do this. I think it's going to be a fun game, but I think that Oregon's going to shock a lot of people on Saturday night.
I think that if you could just tell me the score at the end of the first quarter, I could tell you who wins, like we talked about earlier. I think if Dan is leaning into this environment. I think Sadiq talked about it a little bit today. Just talked about how, like, hey, we're going in there. The only reason it's this environment is because they're playing us. So this staff is going to have these guys ready. And I think the only situation where we lose is if that all just turns into a, jitters, slow start, however it looks like. I think that's really the only game flow scenario in which I see us losing the game. And like you, I'm just going to choose to believe that they're going to come out humming, that Stein's going to have some stuff cooked up that he really likes. And if we go down and score early, I think that this game will be comfortable in our way.
How mad do you think Penn State fans were to see that quote from Sadiq? That the only reason it's this environment is Oregon.
I'll just say I'm obviously nervous, but I'm confident. But I have been dead quiet on Twitter all week. I've got people, there are a lot of Penn State fans who are pretty chesty these days, not only about their environment, but about their team, about all this stuff. Like you said, I think coach. And to be honest, for a lot of them, it's just posturing. They're nervous as heck. They know that they haven't won a big game since 2016.
Everyone is.
Yeah, and I think that's the other piece about the crowd. Like, if you can come out and get a little bit of a lead, and they're not moving the ball offensively, and Aller looks a little iffy. I heard their crowd kind of moaning and groaning some of these preseason, tune-up games, whatever we want to call them. So the great thing about an environment like that is if you get ahead. But if you get behind and you don't look great, and that pressure is on Penn State. The crowd's going to feel that. James Franklin does not do a good job of not exuding that, I would say. I think you can he's yelling at fans at the spring game, the way he goes about stuff. So I don't know. I think if you can get a little lead and they don't look awesome coming out of the boat, you're going to feel that stadium's going to get nervous quick.
Well, and I mean, it's a straw man argument, and it's the third time on this episode alone that we're mentioning the solid verbal, but Ty Hildenbrand, one of the co-hosts with Dan, is a Penn State alum, and he's a diehard Penn State fan. He was talking today, or maybe it was one of last week's episodes, like, they know that this team has underperformed, and they know that this team has not looked as amazing as they should so far. Like, they can say all they want on Twitter. I don't care. If you're saying that stuff on Twitter and pumping your chest, sure, have fun, but we'll see what happens on Saturday. And I think that there's a lot of that fan base that knows that, they've seen what James Franklin does in these games so far. Doesn't mean it's going to happen this time, of course, but they know that there's a track record here, and they know what happened last year in December. So, I don't know. That environment, I can't wait to experience it in person because, I was there for the Ohio State game in Columbus in 2021. We were down on the field in the fourth quarter, and it was just amazing to just kind of look around and see the fans kind of stunned. And I just hope we get that on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm just keeping my mouth shut, staying on the down low. We'll see what shakes out Saturday, but I'm ready to go Sunday if so.
Absolutely. All right, we got our final score predictions. Let's open it up a little bit to the college football world at large. Unless you have anything else on Penn State before we do that.
No, yeah, let's do it. I mean, incredible Saturday beyond this game. It's I mean, trust me, I'm happy to be in Happy Valley, but I'm gonna miss watching a couple of these other matchups that are out there.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate that, this is the weekend. I mean, obviously, yeah, we're happy, like you said, to be going, but also it's frustrating, like, you hear all the stories about what a nightmare it is to travel to Happy Valley. Good Lord, Is it true? This place is like 3 hours from civilization, so I know that we're going planes, trains, and automobiles to get there, but there is a lot of really good football on Saturday that I don't think that you and I are going to be able to watch quite so much, maybe on phone screens, but go ahead and start us off. What are you watching on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just naturally going to pick a game at least we can catch some of, not the other banger that's during our game, but I think, which do I'll go USC. I'll go USC Illinois. I'm going USC Illinois. Early morning start. Get to hate watch the Trojans. I mean, I'm interested to see how USC travels. I know they already went out to Purdue, which is Purdue. So I know a lot was made of like their road trips last year and some of these other former Pac-12 teams going on the road. So I'm interested to see early kick for them, what they look like, and then Illinois. I mean, coming off of last week, boy, you got to imagine a theoretically well-coached team like that, and Bielema bounces back, of some sort. I mean, if they can't bounce back now, then when? So I don't know. Go Illini. I think that'll be an interesting game to watch.
Well, I will be doing the other hate watching. I'm sure that we'll both be tuned into the Ohio State-Washington game. It's kind of a double hate watch. I don't know that Ohio State has risen to the level of hate watch for Oregon fans yet, but I don't think fans will be enjoying it to watch either of these teams win, but definitely Ohio State fans in Eugene. It's been interesting to watch. I mean, I follow a lot of Ohio State reporters and fans, obviously now in the Big Ten, but a lot of them are like getting really nervous for this game. And part of me is like, what are you doing? It's Washington. Like, I think you should be fine, but they're kind of taking it seriously. I see the betting line has dropped. It was, I forget what it was at the start, but it's down to like 8.5. It was a couple scores to start. So yeah, there's some nerves in Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, Washington's offenses look good. I mean, they've also Colorado State and Washington State have moved the ball on them pretty easily. I've watched almost all of those games. So, I mean, they were in.
I'm sure you have.
They were in third quarter real games with both of those teams. So, I mean, if I'm Ohio State, I don't really know how I'm not going to move the ball myself there. So, unless something wonky happens on offense, I imagine Washington will put up a little bit of a fight offensively. They're playing well. They've got some weapons on that side of the ball, but that's where Ohio State is best. So, interested to see how that one shakes out. But go Buckeyes!
It feels like a 35-24 game. Where Ohio State may score a field goal late to push it out over the top, but like I don't think that it's ever going to be really in doubt.
Yep, agreed. My next, been gearing up for this one.
Okay.
The Whit Weeks Bowl.
Auburn
LSU.
What a storyline.
unbelievable yesterday. For fans who don't know, Whit Weeks, one of the starting linebackers for LSU, hard launched on social media his relationship with Lane Kiffin's daughter, which is just unbelievable and such classic, like Kiffin, Southern football, like everything. So I just had to mention it.
Who planned this? I mean, is this LSU twisting the knife, or is this Lane Kiffin saying, "All right, daughter, go do this"?
Well, what's crazy, she was the one who posted it, not him.
Know.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get the backstory one day on a tell-all or something.
Yeah, I really want to see like who was the mastermind behind this, because I totally believe that Lane could have done this and been like, "All right, just go have a little bit of fun with their starting linebacker before our game, and let's see what happens."
Yeah. I mean, it's a legit game too, but this just like adds a whole nother. I feel like this just makes it the most classic like SEC storyline there could possibly be. So I'll be tuned in. And
no one but Lane Kiffin. Like, of course he's at the center of this.
Yep.
I'll take the game that we won't be able to see a second of because we'll be at our game. But Alabama, Georgia, like, if I had two TVs where we were at watching this game, yeah, I'd be watching this because it's going to be a really good game. I think that both teams have a lot to prove. Alabama has looked decent. I like their offense. I like Ty Simpson. Georgia showed a ton coming back against Tennessee, winning that game on the road. Alabama, Georgia, what more do you need to say? It's two of the best teams in the SEC, two of the best teams in all of college football. When you see them in the regular season, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, excited to hopefully watch the highlights the next day. I don't know about you, but if Oregon wins, I'm like dialed into every pod, all the highlights. But if they lose, I have to go dark for the week. So I just want to be able to catch up on this game and see how it goes and not find out a week later.
I unfortunately don't have that option. Either way, I've gotta be working for the next 12 to 16 hours.
Oof, rough. The only other game I had down, Indiana at Iowa.
Oh, okay. I had one more game and it wasn't that one.
Which I think that's an intriguing matchup, especially with us. Indiana also has a bye before us, but seeing what they look like, I mean, obviously last week was just like total blowout, looked incredible. But, going on the road's a little bit different. We'll see what Iowa can cook up and trying to like muck up the game a little bit. But that Indiana game, I mean, is shaping up to be a big one inside Autzen.
That's going to be huge. Yeah, it could be potential game day. We'll see. I had one written down that we actually will get to see TCU Arizona State at 6 p.m. on Friday night. Like that should be, not a massive stakes game, but, I do enjoy watching Kenny Dillingham games, and, that's one that we will be able to get to see. So those are mine. I think those are yours. Got that wrapped up.
Yep, let's do it. We got a couple of Airwaves questions we can roll through quickly here. First question from Paul. What do you think the game plan will be to neutralize the effectiveness of their edges, given it's their strength versus our weakness at offensive tackle?
I mean, the easiest way to neutralize a great pass rush, obviously, is quick throws, getting the ball out quickly, but I don't want that to be all they can do. Start with a good running game, obviously. We talked about that earlier, but then it sounds simple, but do well at blocking. Like, have your offensive tackles actually step up and, kind of shut them down. I think that's, my very, very moderate look at how this can go.
Well, and you saw, I think you looked to last year's game and you saw the way we ran right at Abdul Carter. I mean, we came out first 2-3 drives, run right at him, hit him, put him in conflict, obviously you avoid those passing down situations, but you also are, knocking him back, doing different things in the pass, bringing tight ends, different things like that. So I think that there's ways that you can neutralize that through the run game. There's ways, like you said, quick pass game, test guys on the edges. I think using Hill and Whittington on the edge. We'll see how much like wide receiver screen game we have. We've used none of it this whole year, which Oregon fans love to complain about that last year. Yeah. So, but that's kind of just like an extension of the run game, a way to neutralize edges and prevent them from straight on bull rush coming off the edge. So I think Stein's not a dumb guy. He understands that that's what they do best, and there's an opportunity there, and I'm sure that they're thinking of ways to scheme around it the whole week. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're running outside to start the game, just knock those guys back a little bit, because that's where Harkey and World succeed the most, and that's where they have the most success.
Yeah, they're great run blockers. All right, good.
All right, let's see. Question from Nate. What's the magic number for rushing yards allowed and points allowed where we can reasonably expect an Oregon win?
I saw this one. That's a really good question. If you hold them to less than 175, I think that's a massive win. I really do. Like, I think they can, they've got great backs. They've got a good offensive line. I think they can get that number, 150 to 175, pretty easily. I'm okay with that. If they get up over 200, I'm a little bit worried. But if you can hold them to around that 175 number and somewhere around 24-ish points, 24 to 27, I feel pretty good. If you'd show me those two stats right now, looking in the future, I would feel pretty confident that Oregon could win that game.
Yep, I'm right with you. I think if we get to 30, we're in a good spot offensively. And then I think that, like we talked about earlier, it depends what those rushing yards look like and like when they're happening within the game. But I think that if we're consistently moving the ball offensively, I think that'll be one piece that Dan's maybe willing to give up a little bit. But like you said, as long as that's not, 200 plus in the situation where they're sitting on the ball a little bit, I think that there are two very different paths that can look like. And as long as it's the first one, I think we're in a good spot.
Well, if you couple into, I was thinking earlier, like if you could predict, you can predict the outcome. I think if you saw how many pass attempts Drew Aller has in this game, if he has upwards of 28, 30 pass attempts, I think we feel pretty good. Because if he's trying that much, he's throwing that much, I think you're in a really good spot.
Right with you. All right, last one just from Jake. Do you guys feel Flowers has separated from the pack as safety number 2 next to Thieneman?
I think so. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. It'll be interesting to see how much they rotate at that second safety spot, how much they constrict that lineup. But if they were to cut it down from those 3 guys, Woodyard and Lopa and Flowers, I think Flowers is definitely the top one. I don't know how much separation there is, but I think he is the guy.
I think it'll be interesting to see how much of that 3 safety look, if at all, we see. I know that our linebacker depth hasn't been in the best spot. We're just dealing with some injuries behind Mixon and Betcher. So I think that one fix to that has been like that center field role for Thieneman. But Lopa is also a guy that can play down a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. I mean, you saw him against Penn State last year kind of make his debut. So I wouldn't be surprised to see situations where you see those 3 guys on the field, especially just in a little more run pass situations where the flexibility that Lopa and Thieneman can bring is a real asset.
That's another thing. I mean, this is kind of off topic, but that's one thing that Jim Knowles had so much success in the Rose Bowl calling against us. Like, that's what they shut our offense, our running game down with that 3 safety set. Oregon now runs that, and Oregon is now good at running that and obviously knows how to scheme against it if they're playing against it in practice. So that's one thing that does give me confidence that, like, yeah, he had a really good game plan and he threw a new defense at us that we did not see coming. Okay, I don't know that he has a new defense to throw at us this time, but if he throws that one again, I think that Oregon's probably got a pretty good plan for it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see just like real game, real matchup, that environment. Like, I feel like we are pretty confident in like the ceiling of this team and some of the talent of this team that's not getting discussed nationally. So I just hope we play to that level and the environment doesn't get to us and guys come out ready. I think that the conversation Sunday, Monday into next week, if we play to the level we can, will be pretty fun for Oregon fans.
Famous quote from Scott Van Pelt that I've always liked: think positive, it costs the same. Like, why not think that they can win? It's a lot more fun believing that way than thinking that they're going to go out and lose. So I think they can. I know they can. I think they will.
Yep, right there with you.
All right, let's wrap it up there. Just another reminder, if you're listening to this long episode, thanks for listening and listening to all that we've done. Check out Jeff Schwartz, Ducks Rising Film Room, dropped earlier this week. Also, make sure to check out the Ducks Rising Alumni Corner with Mike Jorgensen, Jorgie. I think that will be dropping later this week, probably on Thursday, I believe. We'll get that out. Make sure to get all these out before a lot of Ducks hop on flights and head out east. So right now, Jeff's Film Room is for subscribers only. If you do not get that memo, we released a teaser out on YouTube and social for you guys. But for the whole thing, head over to ducksrising.com to become a member. Remember that 97% of all proceeds are going back to the athlete in the form of NIL. So it truly is your best way to help contribute to the team and help Dan Lanning bring a championship to Eugene. Travis, you got any parting words before we hop on a plane soon?
No, mentioned at the top. We'll send out some free invites this week, rolling out our first 7-day free trial. So perfect time to join us. Check out that work from Jeff. Check out the community. See if the vibe is one that's good for you. Join us in the Gamer Chat Saturday. That should be a fun day with all the football we discussed. I mean, that thing is popping off all day. Starting early in the morning, going through the nighttime. So it should be a fun Saturday. Come meet some new people, discuss Duck football. Appreciate all of you that are already in there, and we could always use some more.
Absolutely. Check us out on YouTube. Find Ducks Rising Podcast on Apple or Spotify. And if you'd be so kind again, give us a rating and a review. That really helps us build this thing. You can follow me on social media at Zachary C. Neel, and you can follow Travis at Travis Rooke-Ley. But most importantly, go over to the Lockerverse and check out Ducks Rising. Subscribe now, support the program. Let's rise together. We will talk to you guys next week.